Andy, we've become quite the prognosticators here. Everything that seems that things that we say happen or talk about seem to happen within like quick order.
Yeah,
I don't want to call out all of our successes. I mean, they are numerous.
endless,
I
endless.
mean, we'll just kind of start with that. But there's another group, Andy, that is probably more successful at looking into the future. We love The Simpsons, Andy. We grew up with The Simpsons. 1989, I think it was when it started. At first, I was a slow adopter, but then, through the 90s, I was a hard watcher. I haven't watched since, but it's still going, Andy. I mean,
Yeah,
Simpsons is still on. It is amazing how often they have kind of things that have happened in their episodes years ago are coming forward. Famously, the Trump presidency, they talked about President Trump. And now the latest one is Lisa Simpson was wearing a certain dress during was it her inauguration or whatnot. Um, Happens to be the same dress that Kamala Harris wore just the other day. And or maybe it wasn't just the other day.
it
I
was
mean,
the inauguration. At the
I'm
inauguration.
getting I'm getting all the facts confused. Anyways, bottom line is, Andy, the Simpsons are calling these things. So either Kamala Harris and these people are Simpsons diehards and like, hey, how can I replicate this? Or they've got some sort of time machine going on. I don't know which one it is.
Either way, it works. I mean, it's just so funny. I mean, I commend those that identify these connections and predictions. I mean, think about how many episodes of Simpsons have been on. I mean, Bart's been 10 for decades upon decades, right? I mean, they've probably predicted everything. If you go back and watch all the episodes, there's probably a rough thing. But this is pretty amazing. And not only is she wearing the same, purple ensemble, but she came in following a Donald Trump presidency, which is just
Yeah.
pretty remarkable. So. It really is pretty funny. We can share a couple links to some of that, but it's hats off to The Simpsons. It started on the Tracy Ullman show when Fox was just trying to define itself as an independent network. I remember that as a kid growing up, and all of a sudden there was this, Fox vying to be a fourth network among the big three. To their credit, they disrupted and they did it. From The Simpsons to Married with Children and all the other shows that followed, they did a pretty amazing thing, pretty remarkable to look back on it, see the success, today still, as The Simpsons is just such a embedded part of American lives.
Well, and at first it was like, oh, this is a raunchy show and all this other stuff, um and again it was on the new Fox network, which was like, oh, this has got crazy stuff on it. This is not a real network, and now it's the big four, and Simpsons has become quite I don't know, a sounding board in some respects
Yeah.
for some things that are going on in America. As crazy as it seems like on The Simpsons, it actually plays out in real life every day. Did you have a favorite Simpsons character? I,
I don't know if I
uh,
did. I mean, the main family, of course, was so great. All of them: Homer, Bart, Marge, Lisa, even the baby, right? Maggie was great, but they had so many. Moe was great. Barney was great.
yeah,
I forget the clown's name. Right? Cranky, was it Cranky
but
the clown?
Krusty,
Krusty. I
and
mean, like,
Sideshow Bob. And Sideshow
yeah.
Bob.
There's just so much to like enjoy. Again, I haven't watched the show in years and years, but like you realize it was just so silly and funny, the way they characterized and goofed on everything. So I don't know if I
Yeah,
had a favorite. I enjoyed the show. Even from even the bullies, right? Even the bully kids and Bart's friends, and it was just a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah. Duff Beer, Duff
Yeah.
Man, it was a big one. Phil Hartman was on that show. He was a voice on that show a lot. There's great actors who do the voices there. It's a shame about Phil Hartman. One great SNL actor. He was great on that show News Radio. That had a young Joe Rogan. In
Yeah.
fact, Joe Rogan is a young actor.
A terrific
Um,
show. I really enjoyed the show.
it was a great show, and then he, tragically was. I mean, he was murdered. I mean, so he was killed, and tragically, and that show died. I don't know, well, bad choice of words, Dave,
Yeah.
but that show was not able to recover. But any event, I love me some Phil Hartman for sure. So, all right, Andy, you ready to get into things?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's jump into it, Dave. Let's do it.
All right, we're going to try not to talk politics today. We've got a couple other things to go through for sure. So, Andy, first things first, let's go with Let's go with tech. Things you've been passing me around a couple articles here on things that make our lives better in the thing. There's Slack, there's a Slack space that you can do as some companies use Slack often. Andy, you and I use Slack. It's fun.
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways that you can be, a good spree de core type of thing within your company, but also good for work purposes. And then there's also like tech around the house, like Roombas and all sorts of other, refrigerators, smart refrigerators. Are you a big, into the Internet of Things kind of gadgets in the house, or how are you at there?
Yeah, so no. So I love technology. Right, I love technology. I love Slack. I mean, we've been Slack users for a long time. I'm in more Slack workspaces than I would ever want to be. I'm in a Slack company community that's great. A lot of great resources and things being shared there. I commend Slack for having that for small businesses. I love it, and I love technology in general. I love being able to take a speaker out to my garage and play it on Bluetooth while I'm working out. I mean, technology is amazing and it's everywhere around us. But I don't like, and we were talking about this recently with fridges, right? I don't like unnecessary technology, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like stuff that doesn't need to be connected being connected just because it can be, right? You don't need an IP connection in your fridge, right? You don't need an IP connection in your sink, right? Like just shut the door. You don't need your phone to tell you that your fridge door is open, right? So, things like that I think are unnecessary. And while maybe kind of neat, bring in things we don't need to necessarily expose ourselves to, but technology in and of itself, like I welcome it and I love it. I mean, everything from, like I said, like the Roomba, you were talking about this new Roombas looks insane, right? I mean, just I love the fact that technology makes our lives better, easier, more fun, and that's part of the constant progress of humanity, Dave. I mean, there's a whole separate tirade I can go on, but life continually gets better for all the doom and gloom of politicians. Like, I love it. I love it. And tech's a huge part of that.
Yeah, I have a Roomba. I mean, I enjoy a Roomba to help at some points, but like do we need a Roomba mop, Andy? Like this is where we're at now. Like you can mop the floors with a Roomba, and I imagine you have to have a water tank there, and it does all sorts of. The thing that pisses me off about a Roomba is like, I get it. It goes where the sensors tell it to go, and you can map it all out if you get the most advanced. Like and it's good if you don't, if you want to just have it running in the background and hopefully it'll get all your stuff, but you still have to go behind it sometimes and you still have to clean up a little bit there. I'm just like the Roomba mop seems like it's a like do we can't mop our own floor like that like have we gotten really to that point of things, Andy? I don't know. Sometimes tech just doesn't make sense. I mean, like I get it, but like yeah, do we need it just to say we have it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, is it adding convenience, is it giving you time, right? Is I think what it really comes down to. Like we all suffer from a lack of time. Most people don't sit around as an adult and think, oh man, what am I going to do today? I've got so much extra time on my hands, right? So I think if things can make our lives easier, if they can give us time back, if they can save us physical pain, I mean, mopping and vacuuming, aren't necessarily the most fun tasks, and so things that make our lives easier and more comfortable are, I think, are good things, overall. And I welcome them now. Hopefully we replace that time spent doing chores and physical tasks with useful things and stay physical and keep moving around and being healthy, but I think as far as just convenience, if you've got a lot of floor to mop and Roomba can mop that floor for you, hey, let Roomba do it.
Okay, I guess that's true. Are you like a stream? Are you? We've talked about streaming a little bit. Are you Apple TV, Chrome TV, Fire, Amazon Fire? What do you
Yeah,
do there?
yeah. So we don't have Apple TV. We don't have Fire. We do have a Chromecast. We have Roku, and
Oh, Roku. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and those work well. Now Chromecast is cool. I mean, Chrome. Dave, I think we're sharing this too. I mean, Chrome's coming out with a new device, right? That's a step up from the Chromecast we've been familiar with. The new Google TV streamer. It's like a set-top box, right? Which is kind of cool. So I'm looking at seeing how much that is from a technology standpoint, like what it's doing differently than the Chromecast. But I mean, again, those things all make our lives more convenient, give us more choice. And like, and what do you do? You're an Apple TV guy.
I'm an Apple TV guy, but like I really I've been dying for something that pulls all of it together. Like give me a because Apple TV promised this Apple Home and it'll connect all your devices together, and that never really worked. Now that it's trying, I think it's trying to be like your cable box of old or whatever, and try to do some other things, pull those together. I'm just not sure I'm going to ever have that type of interface with my like a television set.
Yeah.
I think like Google's come close on like how they're networking all their stuff together and some consolidation in the marketplace. I'm waiting for that one device that I can go to and really legitimately turn on all the lights in my house, turn off all the lights in my house, turn on the air conditioning, turn it off. There's some of that capability today. I still think we're like 10 years away from the ultimate set where you can do that. But I do like my Apple TV for the most part. But again, it's just become the new cable box effectively. So I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
right. That's right. I think you're right. I think it has replaced, it's one technology replacing another. But again, that's part of the evolution of technology, which I think is awesome. It's continuous redesign, if not necessarily improvement, but things get updated. And I think it's awesome. And at the end of the day, I do think it is constant improvement. I mean, it's different. It's awesome. I love to see us moving forward in technology.
All right, fair enough, Andy. Fair enough on moving forward. All right, we'll wrap up that topic. Andy, we'll go into our next area. Andy, this is pseudo politics, okay? So just pseudo
Oh, all right.
because that doesn't really. We're not going to talk about any political things, but I've seen a couple things trending out there on the socials as I get out there. Maybe it's just because I'm old. I'm old now, Andy, and I don't fully understand the youth of today. I'm approaching 50. It's going to be tough.
You sound
Uh,
old. You sound
I,
old.
I do sound old. I've got all this gray hair, Andy. It's tough. Um, it two things. Kamala is a brat and coconuts.
Yes.
Andy, do you understand any of these things?
Yes. And I think they're both, fun references. One really kind of poking fun at Kamala, and I think it's great she's been able to. I think it's good that she's embracing her goofiness, right? I mean, to step back, just worth noting. I can't remember her name right now. I'll look it up before I forget and give her credit for it. But have you seen the older Saturday Night Live skits that poked fun at Kamala Harris? I mean, it was very funny when she was running for president in 2020. She's a fun person to tease and make fun of because she has a lot of sort of goofy qualities, right? And so I think some of this, like when she made the coconuts comment, right? She's making a reference to her mom. I think her mom said about, hey, you just fall out of a coconut tree, and it was sort of an awkward, goofy statement that some have taken to like make her look like she's a moron, but I think is being really embraced more like, hey, she's a goofy, quirky woman that sometimes says goofy things, and it's being taken as more like, hey, this is a lovable thing, which I think the way to take things like that, right? That's the way to sort of counter hateful messaging. And it's funny. It's funny. So she says some goofy things. I think she's embracing it, and I think it's funny to watch that. Like Jared Polis, who I like, the governor of Colorado, when he made his statement endorsing her for president, he ended it with a palm tree and a coconut, right? So I think people sort of embracing it and teasing it, I think it makes her more human and relatable for people, which is good. Same thing with the brat, right? Here you've got a popular young British artist who's got a new album out talking about what a brat is. It's defining it as a woman with certain characteristics, throwing her support behind Kamala Harris, and she's embracing it, right? And sort of taking on this character, like, hey, I'm hip and I'm modern. Young people like me. Brad is popular. The color is trending. It's a win for her as a campaign. As a campaigner, it's a positive thing. So it's good for her. It's good for her, and I think it's funny to watch these things as modern pop culture meets politics. So Dave, don't be the old man.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, and to your reference, it's Charlie XCX's
Yeah.
2024 album, which is titled Brat. It's a nightclub favorite. Andy, if you and I were still in the clubs, pounding it out, we'd probably be hearing this song all the time. But Charlie XCX talked about it, said the a brat is that girl who is a little messy, likes to party, maybe says some dumb things sometimes, who feels herself, but also maybe has a breakdown, but parties through it. It's very honest, very blunt, a little volatile, does some things, but like it's a brat. You're a brat. That's a brat. Look, I think that's something to play into, and because Kamala is very much, I think that is her persona. So why run away from it? I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. So it is into I see these things, and maybe that is hitting with the younger audience. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know, but maybe that's an effective strategy to counter the Trump campaign, who's very much out in front of making fun of her at this point,
Yeah.
and so poking at her. So it's just interesting. I see you on these social media, things and what's trending. It makes me feel really old at that point, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good exercise, Dave. I think for all of us as we get older, and I think some of the folks that we share this podcast with, and there's a listen and comment. We're a Gen X focused podcast. That's who we are, and our generation is getting older, right? We're no longer 20, and I think a lot of people. I'm going off into nowhere land here, Dave, but I think a lot of people sort of pause life at a certain point and sort of want everything to stay there, and that's kind of in a lot of regards, sort of the idea behind a lot of conservative politics, right? As people get older, they become more politically conservative because you kind of want things to be the way they were when you were younger and just pause there. And as we were talking about technology and that constant road to improvement, not just in technology, but in quality of life all around, life doesn't pause, right? So I think for all of us to understand and be aware of pop culture terms and ideas and music, I think in a way that helps keep us younger and not stale. I think that's healthy, right? Not that 50 and 60 and 70-year olds should be acting and behaving like 20-year olds, like not at all, but to understand and appreciate the world around us as it changes and not get stuck in, back in my day, I think it's really important. I think it's part of staying healthy and not making ourselves older than we really are. So, I'm glad that we can embrace these things. And because technology, we can all be more aware of the changes happening around us much easier than we ever did before. So I think it's great. I celebrate all of this. And again, another good reminder that life is a consistent journey of getting better overall. The world has never been better, continues to improve. For all the pessimism of politics, like life is awesome, and it's so worth celebrating. And I love the fact we can enjoy all these fun, goofy things, from Roombas to Slack to random trending things on social media. It's great. And to be honest, with the Kamala piece, it kind of makes Trump look older, which is
Yeah.
not good for him. Which is not good for him. Now that he is the old man in the race, not a good thing for his campaign.
Well, Andy, you shared or you reposted or commented on a post about Trump and being the early onset dementia stuff.
Yeah,
I encourage people to go and look because it's quite true. Yeah, now the story, honestly, is look how old he is, and it's not an 81 telling a 78-year-old, look how old you are. I'm older than you, or you're younger than me. It's really a sharp difference. I think that's going to play out. I promise I wouldn't say anything politics, but I would love to see a debate between these two. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's something to look forward to. All right, Andy, we're going to stop that timer. We're going to go into our last topic, kind of talk about the youth again, Andy.
yeah,
Um, you know, we complain about the boomers, right? Our general parents
as
and
we
whatnot,
should, as we
but
should.
as we should. They've done a quite a doozy here on a lot of things. I'm sure our kids are complaining about the things these Gen Xers and then the millennials will be doing. No doubt, it's all fair about play. Andy, an interesting thing is happening in America and in a lot of places actually. The younger generation, their interest in having kids, I don't want to say it's like waned, but it's definitely on hold for now. Like when you and I both got married right out of college. I mean, you were immediately out of college. I had a year, but still under 23 years old. I mean, so we're both married at that point. My son's getting married now at 24, has there's no indications of grandchildren on the horizon for that. Not that I'm pushing one way or the other. It'd keep me young for sure to have somebody else, but another little one around. But at the same time, is there's a lot of research out there now that people are not um, the 18 to 34-year-olds without children who aren't sure is increasing. It's now up to 30%, up from 21% in 2021 and 16% in 2018. Also, 18, 34-year-olds without kids who say they don't want any, period, is up to 18%. That's actually down, or it's actually a little bit in line with 2018 and 2021. There's a lot of factors that go into this, Andy. I mean, the unsettling climate, like, I don't mean like our unsettling world climate situation, not necessarily weather related, but the environment, women in the workforce working, getting rising up the workforce before, like never before. The cost of living is really high. And just reevaluating those social norms. I think it's healthy that the younger generation is doing this. How do you, but America, our um, birth rates have been going down in the United States and in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world. Andy, thoughts on any of this? I kind of rambled on for a while on that,
Yeah,
Andy.
but it's an interesting topic. I mean, birth rates are going down, right? But in some, some of the stats in the article we shared, and I'll share an image of that. Below two children per household, right? Which is a loss of population, right? And so it hits a lot of really interesting points, and it's an interesting time in America because on one hand you've got people putting off or not having children for a variety of reasons, right? The cost of having children, it is expensive. The time it takes to properly invest and raise your children, which I think is, you and I as parents have both invested a lot of time and energy into raising our children, and there are financial costs that come with that as well. People don't want to have the trade-off of what they want to do, traveling and partying and their careers to raise kids. A lot of things, you can make arguments for. I think it is a concern that, like population wise, we do want to at least maintain, or keep growing. But then that touches on one political issue, which is immigration and how important immigration is for our country, right? Because if we're not going to have children here, then, immigration provides another avenue for country population growth. And so one more reason to celebrate immigration. But it brings to another political issue, which is something you're hearing from the Trump campaign, the Republicans right now, which is, hey, you've got these childless Democrats running the government, right? Which is a very
Yeah.
strange line of attack, but it's a line of attack, right? So you see these things happening in our society, and at the same time, you see infamous people, Tyreek Hill, Dolphins wide receiver, Nick Cannon, famous television host and performer and goofy, character, Elon Musk, that have, football teams of children with multiple partners. A lot of weird things happen at the same time, across our country. Ultimately, I think it's a personal decision, right? If individuals and families decide what's best for them, I'll say, and I think you'd agree with this. You can say if you don't, but like my life would be drastically different and for the worse if I didn't have the pleasure of being a father. I mean, I love it. That is my favorite role. It's not for everybody, and not everybody's able to have children. Not everybody wants to have children, but I'll say parenting has helped me grow so much as an individual, and I absolutely love it. So there are trade-offs, but there are trade-offs that if I could go back and tell 21-year-old me, what was ahead of my life and getting married and having kids, like I would take it again. I love the fact I got married at 21. I love having kids, now as I'm sitting in my 40s with my two wonderful young men growing up.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, my life is completely different. And I talk about never having to grow up, like wanting grandkids because I don't have to grow up. Look, I mean, we have two kids out of the house now. And then I have another one who's getting ready to go into college, is a senior in high school. And then we've got a third grader. And that third grader, like the energy, like the excitement that brings in our lives is just without doubt, right? And she brings so much energy and excitement to things that keep us all young. I think it's
Yeah.
important. And I think again, I'm not judging one decision or the other, but again, my life, I always wanted kids, and now I can continue that, and hopefully with grandkids down the line, that'll be Again, I'll keep me youthful and but Andy, I did want to just call out just real quick on this global trend here.
Yeah,
When they look in 2020, they did analysis of 195 countries. The average number of kids a woman had dropped from 4.7 in 1950 to 2.4 in 2017, and now they think by 2100, that seems weird to say, doesn't it? It'd be fall below 1.7. In the United States, it's been a steady decline, bottoming out in 2019. But this again is a couple of years ago. A lot of different things on it. Again, I think it's just um, it's an interesting note. It's something to keep an eye on. But again, I fully my life would be completely different without my kids at our side. Not to judge anybody who doesn't have kids
yeah,
or
absolutely.
unfortunately not able to have kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's a choice that an individual and a family makes, and there's not a right or wrong answer. And I think it's
Right.
terrible to shame people that don't have children, just like it's wrong to shame people that have lots of children. I mean, like if you can do it well, and you care for your family, like have as many kids as you can. If you can afford it and you're going to commit to it properly, great. And if you choose not to have kids, that's great. But I will say, Dave, before we wrap up, I mean, you have a wonderful family. And your wonderful wife, I see pictures she shares of your youngest daughter, who looks like maybe the smartest and most mischievous member of your household. I'll say, like she is adorable. She is an adorable kid. So, good job, Pounder family.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much
Well
so.
done, well
So,
done.
all right, Andy, that wraps up our. So we didn't talk really politics a whole lot. There was just a little side swipe there, but good references there. Andy, we got a lot of things coming up. We can talk maybe some movies on Friday. Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine is out.
Yeah,
Some of the reviews came out, Andy, and there's a little suspect. I don't know how I feel about movie reviews anymore. I just got to go to the show. If I enjoy it, I don't really fuck Siskel and
yeah, yeah,
Ebert.
yeah. That might be a good topic for Friday, to be honest. That might be a good topic to bring back up. And
Yeah,
Dave,
well,
worth noting as well, we're just like 7 weeks away from NFL football here, right? So I've got my Lions shirt on this morning. I started watching Receiver last night, Dave. I mean, I'm so ready for the NFL
I can't
season.
watch those shows. Like quarterback and receiver, like
I'm on Ross St. Brown, Dave. I mean,
well, I
I
guess you got
love
to
the guy.
watch it for your
I, I,
Lions stuff.
I love the guy. I love the Lions. You know that. I love Amon Ross St. Brown. His story. That guy is so locked in, so determined. Like, oh man. So hey, we'll talk Friday about what we're talking about Friday. Good talk today. But hey, it's never too early to be super excited about the NFL. I'm super excited about the NFL.
All right, so there's two things I want to cover on Friday. We'll talk movies. I want to talk the Olympics. I want to talk USA men's basketball, and we've had some exhibition games, and they're not blowouts, Andy. And my question is has the USA dominance of world basketball really like is that good for the world? So let's talk about that on or I guess the end of U.S. dominance because Germany won the World Cup last year and we barely beat Germany this week. But the Germans quite good at basketball, Europeans quite good at basketball, everyone around the world is quite good at basketball. So let's talk about that from the dream team to today, what that looked like. So,
All right. All right.
all right,
Looking forward
Andy.
to it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So Olympics kickoff, exciting times. Football's right around the corner. Woo, we're getting ready to go mode. So, all right, Andy, with that, let's catch up with you next time.